My name is Justin, and I'm an addict. And thanks to my God, the steps, and the fellowship of other addicts, I am sober one day at a time since June 19th, 2015. And for that, I am beyond grateful. Welcome to the RICO 12 speaker meeting. We are an organization whose addictions include alcohol, drugs, lust, and sex, food, and gambling, just to name a few. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to learn the similarities of addiction and to gain tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We invite recovering addicts with at least 1 year sobriety and who are actively working their recovery in their respective fellowships to share their experience, strength, and hope on a live Zoom meeting each Friday at noon Central Time for 20 to 25 minutes. Then we, the live audience, get the opportunity to ask questions of the speaker for another 20 to 25 minutes. In order to ask questions, please type them in the Q&A link at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you are hearing this podcast recorded and would like to participate as a live audience member in the future, or if you'd like to be a guest speaker in a future meeting, please go to RICO12.com, that's RECO12.com, to learn more and submit your email address there to receive weekly invitations or to submit to become a guest speaker. RICO 12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping it that way. We gratefully accept contributions to help cover the costs of the Zoom platform, podcast platform, web hosting, and administrative costs. To contribute, you can go to RICO12.com/support, or you can click the PayPal link that is in the chat of the live meeting and in the show notes of the podcast. When you contribute, please specify the meeting number. This is meeting number 37. Last week's meeting was with Thomas. He spoke on the game changers of his recovery. If you missed hearing that very good meeting with lots of questions from the audience, or if you've missed any of the other 36 meetings we have done, you can listen to them in podcast form by searching for RICO 12 Speaker Meeting Podcast on virtually any podcast platform that you use. Or you can go to the RICO 12 website and find it under the link podcast. If you find value in this service, please take a moment to go to the podcast platform of your choosing and leave a rating and review. It really does help us work our 12th step by carrying the message of recovery to more addicts who suffer. One more word about our speakers before we introduce today's speaker, Nikki. When we line up a speaker for a meeting, we ask them to seek guidance on what and how to present so that they can reflect the light that they have been given. That light will inspire hope, meaning, worth, and growth in each of us, the listening audience. Now, let's introduce our guest speaker for today, Nikki. And here is a little bit of her bio that she shared with me previously. Nikki was the guest speaker in the 7th RICO 12 meeting back in July of 2020. Her energy is infectious. Be ready for this one. Nikki brings the power of God in her recovery with her. Nikki is one of the founding members of the Wednesday night SLAA Big Book meeting. Her program of recovery began by the grace of God, the power of the 12 steps, and the fellowships of CA, AL-ANON and SLAA. Nikki's story is one of transformation and healing, distinguished by her practical application of the Big Book's 12 steps and traditions as a program of daily living. Awakened to the spirituality of life, Nikki has been empowered to rise up from the bottomless depths of despair, hopelessness, and futility. Today, she carries the message to countless rooms, sponsors both men and women, and has the awareness that her life depends on working this program of action every day. Lifted by the grace of God and propelled by the power of 12 steps, Nikki works a rigorous, honest program and enjoys freedom from the bondage of self, a full and grateful heart, and a spirit filled with hopes, dreams, and possibilities. I'm excited for this one, Nikki. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. I hope you can hear me. I know you said there was a little lag, but I'll just keep my eye on you with your thumbs up. Hi, friends. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of many fellowships. My primary fellowship currently is SLAA, that's Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and Al-Anon, of course. That's how I made my way into the rooms. So that's forever my first fellowship, because I came in trying to save the man I love. And long story short, I'm the one with the problem. So if you want to hear more about my story, I guess you could listen to episode number 7. That gets more into detail about my journey, my 12 steps, and this program of 12 steps and how it works. But Justin asked me, it was just a last minute invite to see if I could come back on and share the message. And a lot has changed since July. since July, Justin, I've lost my job permanently in COVID. They closed my department. And rather than getting into self-pity, fear, and all that dreaded stuff that addicts like to do, I've been reborn. So I didn't see it I saw it as a blessing, to be honest, because it allowed me to sponsor full time. I mean, miracles. I live in Canada, and thank God they have a good COVID recovery program. That helps too. But long story short, I could have gone really into deep self-pity with this one, and I didn't. It's also almost March. It'll be 2 years since I've seen my beautiful daughter in California. And long story short, I'm free. She's free. God's taking care of us both. And as I shared, I think on episode 7, I'd got off the plane January 2020, spending a month in Luxembourg with my boyfriend. And I haven't seen him it's been a year now. And man, I'm on fire still. This is what recovery looks like. Because see, I don't know. The book tells me, and many friends, just so you know, I live by the dictates of our big book. See, I'm not an alcoholic, but I follow the exact instructions of the undiluted message of the 12 steps, which comes out of the, I use the 4th edition of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I replace drinking for thinking. That's what we do in our program, in our fellowship, which Justin, I know you're going to put all the links in there. When we spoke last year in July 2020, we had our Wednesday night big book meeting, and we had one WhatsApp group app. Now our fellowship has grown so much that we have, I think, 6 or 7 big book meetings, and we have 5 WhatsApp groups, and all people who are on the same page in the big book, wanting to do this lifestyle, knowing it's a lifestyle. This isn't a one and done. And I guess that's what, I read what you, when you sent me the email with the link, what I'm talking about today. And I'm talking about how promises come true. And there's a lot of promises in this book, friends. I mean, the magic book, the big book, the instructions for living, because Nikki M doesn't know how to live, not only tells me how to live, it tells me what to look forward to. It tells me what to get excited about, that God will do for me what I cannot do for myself. It tells me that I'm going to be reborn. And if you've ever given birth, moms or friends, or if you've been a dad, or if you've had a brother or sister, anybody tell you or ask mom, you got here somehow, giving birth is not easy. Being reborn is not easy. This is radical stuff. See, on page 117 of our big book, it says we will have a radically changed attitude that God will show us how to have. Oh, well, Nikki, you're so radical. Well, that's what the book tells me I'm going to have. See, I've gone to share at some meetings, Justin, and I've actually been, one group in LA wanted to ban me because I was telling them that they're going to die. That's what the book says. I just repeat what the book says. And when these people didn't want me there, I know why. Because on page 125 of our big book, it says we are sensitive people. It sometimes takes us a long time to outgrow this serious handicap. See, being sensitive is a serious handicap. That's what our book says. So I have a powerful message because the book tells me I've recovered and been given power to help others. See, I don't stray from what the big book says much anymore at all, because if I do, I will die. The book tells me when I work it this way, to think is to die. That's what it says on page 15. It says, if an addict were to drink again, how about to think again? They would surely die. So I get really serious about what the big book says, and I sponsor so much. And that's the other beautiful thing that's happened since last July, is that I sponsored so many women with this message. They carry this undiluted message also, not Nikki's message. They literally carry the big book message. And so they sponsor other women, because that's the first thing that we do in the fellowship we crave. See, page 164 told me, Nikki, God will show you how to create the fellowship you crave. So I don't have to sit in dirty meetings anymore, listening to people barf all over me about their problems. Because I know it sounds hard, friends. New friends, you can do that in a meeting. You don't know. But when my friends have been here for years and they're still talking about the problem and not the solution, that's not what Tradition 5 says. It says we carry this message, and my group's message is a powerful message. My home group, that's what we do. No one's leaving without a sponsor, and no one's leaving without a sponsee. We take this stuff serious. And you know why, Justin, I told you, my mom lives with me. And why? Because her husband in 2017 blew his head off in front of her. Years of untreated addiction. That's where we go. And as a codependent, Al-Anon, that's where I'll go. See, I'll take it to the depths of insanity. And if I don't want to kill myself, I'll want to kill the person that's not doing, saying, being, acting how I need them to be, say, do, and act. Because the book talks about it. It says that I'm like the actor who wants to run the entire show. So this book also tells me this is not a program of stopping drinking, stopping doing whatever drug you have. See, I'm not an alcoholic and I'm not a drug addict. What I am is I'm an addict of people, places, things, thoughts, and emotions. See, I'll chop the man I love up. I'll snort him so there's nothing left of him. And then I'll blame him for ruining my life. That's what I do. And when the man's not around, I take the children. And then when my coworkers, I mean, it's endless. I'm sick. And that's okay. See, because I'm armed with the facts. That's what the book does. I don't get embarrassed by it anymore. See, without the testimony, I won't have without the test, without these trials and tribulations, I won't have the testimony to tell you, friends, that we recover. The promises come true. I'm at perfect peace and ease alone. And if you're a sex addict, if you're a fantasy addict, if you are a codependent, if you are a love addict, being at perfect peace and ease alone is a miracle. And the book talks about miracles. It doesn't say in here mediocre recovery. It talks about miracles. And Justin, just so you know, that's what has gotten me through this COVID, is that I've seen miracles. I've seen people dying who are alive and sharing the message. Girls my daughter's age. My daughter's going to be 29. And when I see a girl my daughter's age dying from this addiction, waking up, carrying the message and helping others. I just got off the phone this morning with a sponsee. She sponsors men. You know, this is what we do in our fellowship, because someone called me yesterday. My phone was blowing up yesterday. And a woman called me and said, you know, I know I'm not supposed to sponsor a man. I said, excuse me, go to page X111 in our book. I think that's Roman numeral 13. And it says, we, men and women. Mic drop. Doesn't say we men, period. We women. And now we're inclusive. So it's they, them, all people. See, that's how our fellowship runs. We run off page 46 of our big book. I'm hoping, I'm not going through the big book now because I just want to get through these pages, but it says God is all inclusive, never exclusive, open to anyone who earnestly seeks it. And this big book has made me so smart too, because I Google all the words. What is earnestly? What is vigorously? What is abandon? And that really rocked my world this year, because the money obsession got lifted. I just celebrated 9 years in the rooms, Justin, on Valentine's Day. Because of course, as a true sex and love addict, I was in Al-Anon that week, that day, to save the man I love. So 9 years later. And I don't want new friends to feel that you got to wait 9 years, because I'm seeing miracles in people in 6 months, 6 weeks, who are working this program, vigorously abandoning themselves, sincerely taking such a position. Friends, these aren't words that I know. These are words that are in the book, because I said I was going to talk about exact instructions, and they're all in there. The book says this is not easy. Page 14. It says simple, but not easy. And then it tells us a price must be paid. It says the destruction of self-centeredness. And then for my friends out there, codependents, Al-Anon people, well, look what I do for you. I'm not selfish. Look what I say and do and am for you. Well, you do it. I do it because I want you to say, do, act, be how I need you to act, do, say, be. So I'm okay. See, I did a thorough and fearless searching moral inventory of myself. And on page 67, it says, putting out of our minds the wrongs others have done, I resolutely look for my own mistakes. And then it says, I disregard the other person entirely. Folks, if you don't know what entirely is, Google it. It means 100% disregard the other person. And then Justin, in the book, it also says, see where religious people are right. But the book was written a long time ago. So I like to say spiritual people are right, not just religious people. And I am a student of Yoda. And Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. So when I see try in my big book, I cross it out. Yeah, to my friends out there who say, don't mess with the words in the big book, Nikki M does. Because I'm a student of Yoda. I cross out try, I do or do not, period. This is a radical program. The book tells me to, when I'm upset, when I've got a resentful thought, I'm to pause. Good friend in my fellowship told me to get to pause land. Tells me currently get to pause land. Because I can get real crazy. Recently, I got real nuts. I took a thought. See, the thought leads me to the action, leads me to doing what I shouldn't be doing. It's just the first thought. The alcohol, the acting out, the drugs, the whatever you shove, the men, the money, the women, the food, they're just a symptom of the spiritual malady. I suffer from a soul sickness, which only a spiritual experience will conquer. So friends, if you're going to ask me a question, I want to ask you a question. What are you, page 25, blotting out the consciousness of your existence with? What are you? It says we have two choices: to blot out the consciousness of our existence or accept spiritual help. This is radical. This is a lifestyle. Justin, I've learned that most people won't make it. I may not if I stop. I won't make it. If I take a thought about poor me, why me, I can't get on a plane, I won't get out of bed. Get pretty dark for me real quick. Instead, I obsess about what I do have, not what I don't have. I lost my job in COVID, but I became a full-time sponsor. And God did for me what I could not do for myself. Because it says on page 19 of our big book, some of us are fortunate enough to make a full-time job out of this. I'm one of the fortunate few. You had my sponsor on here, Cameron. He is too. I haven't seen this guy. I live across the street from him. I haven't seen him in a 9-to-5 job ever. He's a full-time sponsor. And his meeting's growing. Like I told you, it's like we are moving in a fellowship, because I want to remind people, if you're not happy with what's going on in your life, or your meeting, or you're sitting in there in judgment and hating everything about 12-step, page 164 says, I may have to get my book out for this one, Justin, because I don't want to mess it up. It says, and I love this page, so no page 164, but it says, he, capital H, capital her, it, power, spirit of the universe, the great reality, God, higher power, will show you how to create the fellowship you crave. And that's what happened for Nikki M. See, I couldn't go into some of my meetings talking about the big book, not literature approved. We got to read the SLAA book, or we got to read the AL-ANON literature. That's great. That stuff is helpful because it says on page 87, there are many helpful books also. But I go by the big book because Nikki doesn't know how to think, walk, talk, or live. The book says it's a design for living. It's a design for living, which will solve your problems. And yes, friends, I muck it up in the big book and write all my problems, because that's what's happened to Nikki. It solved all my problems. What's going to happen, Nikki? I trust God. I don't know. I trust God. This is full reliance on God. It took me 9 years to understand what abandon myself to this way of living means. Period. This is radical. Because I've seen, in 2017, I'm sure I talked about it on my other tape that you had me on for, Justin, was I didn't just have grandpa, my mom's husband, kill himself. I had 3 consecutive suicides. One, of course, was mental illness, probably with a little addiction mixed in. The other one was full-blown addiction. 9 weeks later, after her boyfriend leaves her, she blows her head off. I know her. I've known her since the 4th grade. And when our 4th grade friend, Johnny, called me, I knew why it happened because my book tells me on page 30, many pursued into the gates of insanity or death. And if you're like me, I'm not going to stick a fentanyl needle in my neck. I'm going to be the walking dead, too afraid to kill myself, but too afraid to do anything else. That is awful. And it talks about in our book, even on my worst day, in my worst day in program, I wouldn't go back to my best day in my old life. And Nikki's had a good life, man. I'm a retired stripper. I'll just drop it right there. I've had fun. I've had dark times. I've had bad times. I've had the best times in that old life, but I wouldn't go back to that for my worst day in recovery. See, my worst day in recovery is my best day in life because I have a solution. I stopped playing God. It says quit playing God. It doesn't work. And you know how much free time I have now? Not controlling, manipulating, martyring, managing everybody. Freedom. The book promises freedom. It doesn't say this is not a program of sobriety or sobriety. Because what also happened to me, I was gifted with a bunch of dry drunks this season. People have been sober 20 years in the rooms of AA or NA or CA, and they haven't abandoned themselves. They're sober. They put down maybe this, maybe that, but they're not getting the freedom and the promises. The promises do not talk about mediocre things in here, friends. It says we will intuitively know how to handle a situation that used to baffle us. I do. It tells me I will make mistakes so I don't get freaked out when I do. It tells me that when I relapse on page 116, there's a paragraph on there that talks about fear of, and it talks about our partners doing that, but I like to replace it and put it to me. And it says it will prove to be a blessing. So each time I mess up, make a mistake, fall off the beam, it proves to be a blessing is what the book tells me. See, the book tells me what to think, what to do. And I was in a meeting the other day in a group chat and some woman said, oh, these people are brainwashed by the big book. I was brainwashed the other way, thinking I'm not good enough, I was brainwashed to thinking I was too fat, too ugly, too black, too white, too short, too poor, too rich, too this, too good, too bad. So why is it bad for me to be brainwashed into this? Oh, Nikki, you're in a cult. I am in a cult. It's called the cult of love, agape love. It's called the cult of helping people wanting nothing in return. Oh, that's radical, Nikki. I know it is. I know it is. Because see, I was going to kill myself and kill my lover. Period. That's not normal. See, I was brainwashed into thinking that's normal because I've watched a lot of Friday night TV movies like that, and I've watched a lot of news. That's normal. No, it's not. This, what the book tells me is normal, that I'm supposed to be happy, joyous, and free. That God will do for me what I cannot do for myself. And people, if you have a problem with that word God, grow or die. You pick your own God in this program. See, I can't find it in church. I'm also in this other chat group and I'm sorry, I want to get out of it. I had to go to pause land on it because I hear a lot of judgments, a Christian chat group, and they're judging. Well, that's not what we're supposed to do in this program. I'm not supposed to judge. I'm supposed to love everybody regardless of what they do to me. This is radical. Love and tolerance is our code. This is not easy. See, AL-ANON friends out there, my son doesn't live in my house because he wasn't following the rules. And it says on page 420, nothing can come before my emotional sobriety. When I place more value on my serenity, nothing matters. And guess what? God took care of my son. He's 16. He's just a normal teenage boy. I don't need to worry. Because it says worrying is a sin in another book that I study. See, either I have faith or I don't. I have fear. Either God is everything, page 53 in the big book. God is everything or God is nothing. You choose. So friends, this took me a while to get to this radical attitude. But you too can do it. So Daily living. Yeah, this is a daily living. See, I walk, talk, eat program. You don't have to be as radical as me. And not everyone's going to carry a message like me. My sponsees, a lot of them carry sweeter, softer, kinder messages, and I love them for that. And I want to be like them. They have what I want. And every time I'm like, Nikki, change your message. And then I get a phone call from someone who said, Nikki, you saved my life by screaming this book in my ear and telling me I'm going to die. So we all have special gifts. I love you for having me back, Justin. I'm going to send some people here for you, because if you like my message, we got, I want to say almost 1,000 people walking in our fellowship that God showed us how to create. And so you're going to post all that information for us. I can't wait to hear what people are asking, but this program works. I have been page 63, reborn. I love you.
Oh, Nikki, you're awesome. That fire, that energy is amazing. I love feeling that again live. It's amazing. Hey, before we get to the Q&As, which, by the way, to our live audience, type your questions if you have any in the Q&A link at the bottom of your Zoom window. It looks like two speech bubbles over the top of each other. And we've got a couple that have come in already. But before we get to those, Nikki, can you share with me, and you are an obvious example of the promises of the Big Book. I'd like to hear 2 or 3 of your favorite promises, the ones that just rock your world.
Okay, that's a great question. Well, like I already said, just speaking is, of course, at perfect peace and ease alone. I mean, I couldn't live unless I was controlling the world. So that's a number one promise for me, perfect peace and ease alone. The other one is that God will do for me what I cannot do for myself. See, I never have to worry about anything. God will handle it. I don't have to think about it. And another big promise, I think, because I like to snort money too, is that my financial fears will fall from me. And like I said, I've lived a life of, I'm a destination addict. When my house is paid off, when I get the money in the bank, when I get this, no, nothing. Here it is I have everything I need and more. Everything I need and more. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to get to these questions that have started to come in from our live audience. First one is from Sabrina. Sabrina says, my partner and I are both addicts. He is an untreated alcoholic, and I am in program, AL-ANON, CODA, and SLAA. Should I not talk program to him? What are your thoughts on that, Nikki?
Okay, Sabrina, I hope you're coming to our mucking up of to the wives chapter. But I'm just going to keep it simple because I want you to reach out to me and we can talk more about this. But on page 120 of our beautiful golden magic book, it very clearly says, I'm going to read this paragraph. It's the very bottom paragraph on page 120. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the first sentence and the last. It says, we never try to arrange a man's life so to shield him from temptation. We never. Sabrina, the book doesn't have a lot of double nevers. They'll say never, not, don't. This says never arrange a person's life, period. And then the last sentence says, place the problem along with everything else in God's hands. Now, there's a lot of other instructions in between. Come to our, we're mucking up to the big book, to the wives in the big book every Friday night for the month of February. That's what our fellowship does. We create workshops to get you to these solutions. But it says, stop playing God, quit playing God, read this chapter and call me, because there's exact instructions. And remember, trust God. Trust God.
Thank you, Nikki. I've got another question that came in. This one's a little bit, I've never, ever had this thought come to my mind, or this question come up. And it seems a little bit from the periphery, but I'd love to hear your answer. Anastasia says, what would the big book say about social media?
Okay, what does it say? Go to page 102. It says, your job now is to be at maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere. Is it helpful? Is what you're doing helpful? is what you're doing, saying, scrolling helpful? I think that should answer the question, Anastasia. Like, is it helpful? Is it helpful to be on social media? Yes or no? And the book also says we can't differentiate the true from the false. So you may need to get your sponsor involved because you can't tell the difference between the true or the false. That's what the doctor's opinion tells us. It also tells us on page 77 that your only purpose is to serve God and God's children. So I don't know if sitting on social media is serving God and God's people. Okay? It's all in the big book. Throw another question at me. I'll get you to that page. I love this.
Wow, that was really cool. I've never even considered that. I love how that was able to be tied in right there. Thank you for doing that, Nikki. All right, next question from an anonymous attendee. So, they ask, what are some subtle things that block out the consciousness of existence?
What are some subtle things that block out the consciousness? Blotting out, that's on page 25, friends. Blotting out the consciousness of our existence. Well, let's just go down the list. Well, you said subtle. The obvious is, of course, alcohol, drugs, men, money, women, all that. Little things, thoughts, thinking about yourself. Little things could be even the wrong foods, not the right. I'm not talking like for food addicts. I'm talking little subtle things. Blocking out the consciousness of your existence could be drifting off. Blotting out the consciousness of your existence could be little things. I mean, I don't even want to say like cigarette smoking. People don't, I mean, yes, it's a habit, but it's little, there's little things and subtle things that we do. Me, what do? I just drift off into weird things. It's just, it's so, oh, here, let's just go here to page 58. It's so baffling and cunning, this disease, that there's so many little things that you can do. Bottom line, if you're not shoving the principles of this program into your consciousness, you won't make it. That's the bottom line. So it's not more like, what shouldn't I shove or what am I? It's like, what should you be shoving? The principles of this program, the directions of the big book, patience, practice, because it could be something like, you blot out the consciousness of your existence. I know women who won't leave the house without makeup, like such little things, like not being awake and aware of these stuff. The list is long. Call me.
I love that. And as you were going down that list, I thought of a few other things that are, help blot out the consciousness of my existence. Also, like video games, like even reading a book. Sometimes I can get so absorbed into it, and reading a book is not a bad thing. But if I blot out everything else because of it, it's something that's causing issues.
Amen. If it's not helpful, I just recommend don't do it. So reading's helpful, but how long? And here it says in the book, and I can't, there's so many pages in there that it says it. Check your motives. Check your motives. Why am I eating that? Why am I on the video game? Have I got all my stuff done? Then I can play an hour of video game, me and God, and that's a great time. And that's what I'm doing after all my work, my spiritual work is done. I get what you're saying, and you get what I'm saying, Justin.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Another question from the audience. What is the most miraculous thing you've witnessed or experienced as a result of your recovery?
Whoa, miracle question. Okay. I always like to prelude like this. Okay. Miracles aren't just for radical Jews named Jesus. They're for people named Nikki M. See, when you sponsor someone, you will literally see a blind man walk again. You will literally see a woman get vision again. Remember, Jesus made a blind man see. I know we're not supposed to talk about religion, but I'm going to break rules here. Long story short, Nikki's seen a blind woman see. A woman who couldn't see how wonderful and great she was because she's in her house isolating. Because remember, that's the opposite of sex and love addiction is anorexia, not the food kind, the kind where you stay holed up in your house and you don't participate in life. And the people who love you don't even get to see you. 15 years like that. I get to see a lot of miracles, people being reborn, not just me. Some of the big miracles I've seen, one of the biggest ones lately is that a relationship was repaired. Rarely do I see that. Sponsee I had, they were done. And she worked her program magically, and they're going to get married. Like, these are the miracles I'm seeing. Or I'm seeing people who haven't talked to their parents in 50 years, hate their parents, go, oh my God, mom's sick like me. Don't make me cry up in here talking about miracles. Love you.
Awesome. Thank you. And those are some amazing miracles. I love that light, the vision coming back in people's hopeless, seemingly hopeless eyes. It's awesome.
Well, a big miracle to say for myself is Nikki will throw grandma on the street, sell her house, toss the dogs out to get a private jet to go see the people I love. Remember, I didn't even think about getting on a plane. And I could have. And I didn't even think about it because I'm responsible. And I'm not judging if you guys do. I'm not saying that. But for me, my program asked me to be responsible, not just to myself, not to just to others. My government asked me not to get on a plane. I didn't do it. But old Nikki, that's the miracle. Old Nikki would be, I don't know, I'd be offering everybody to get on a plane to see my guy. Not anymore. I'm serving you people. Thank you, Justin.
Cool. All right. Another question from our audience. Nikki, you spoke about different gender sponsoring. Would you be able to elaborate on that and how to know if it is well-intentioned as well as across programs?
Okay, fabulous question. And this is where I took the woman yesterday, and I actually took my sponsor here today. Let's go here, everybody. Page 100. Page 100, very bottom line. And again, I just talked about this, friend. It says in there, check your motives. But here we go. It says, assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things addicts are not supposed to do. Now, you got to be very careful. If your sponsee's really sick and you're a woman, they're sponsoring you, or you're sponsoring them, and they get into fantasy, it could get over for him and you. It could be a real problem. See, I only sponsor people who are dying and want this. The miracle is, you're spiritually fit because you don't look at gender or people anymore. See, I don't look at men as objects anymore. I look at them as loving children of God. That's the miracle. And it says right here, assuming we're spiritually fit, we can go anywhere and do anything. Page 101. We meet these conditions every day. An addict who cannot meet them still has an addict mind. There is something the matter with their spiritual status. And that's why I talked about this isn't a program of sobriety or sobriety. This is a program of freedom. It says right here, you'd have to go someplace like Greenland ice caps. There's going to be everything there tempting you. See, when people say to me, oh, that triggers me, Nikki, or it's like, I'm sorry, madam. I'm sorry, sir. Life is a trigger. Opening up your eyes in the morning is a trigger. If you're a real addict like me. So we don't use that word in my fellowship. And we don't do that anymore. Everything's a trigger. So if you're not spiritually fit, you can't do anything. How do you know if you're spiritually fit? You recoil from things like a hot flame, and not just alcohol, drugs, women, money, food. You recoil from self-pity. You recoil from fear. You recoil from judgment. You recoil from opening your big mouth and saying anything, Nikki. God sits on your tongue. That's what happens. So friend, call me. It took me a while. Don't think I started out sponsoring men. I started with women, of course. All my sponsors have been men. So I don't know what this is about separation. And can you imagine if Dr. Bob didn't sponsor a woman? Where would we be today? Get spiritually fit and you can move anywhere and do anything you want.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Another question from an attendee here. I'm just over a month in my program and working through my steps. Can you speak about emotional/social anorexia, please?
Okay. Repeat that one more time for me, Justin, just so I could hear that.
It says, I'm just over a month in my program and working through my steps. Can you speak about emotional and social anorexia?
You know what? I've got a beautiful butterfly. I think I just saw her on here and on this meeting, a fellow of mine, and she identifies as anorexia, like that kind of thing. You're a month in. Let me just take you to the quotes in the big book. This is not an overnight matter. It must continue for our lifetime. And it doesn't matter if it's your social anorexia. It doesn't matter if it's your drinking problem. This does not get solved overnight. But I'm going to tell you, my anorexic friend. For us, with the people addiction, on page 70, it says, if sex is troublesome, and I know it's not troublesome for you, but cross out sex and put, if anorexia, if social anxiety is troublesome, and here's the oxymoron, you're to throw yourself harder into helping other people. You better get out of your house and start helping somebody. See, you're social anorexia because you're thinking about yourself. You're obsessed with you, what people think about you, how, I don't know what your mind is saying to you, but I know working with others, this is what happens. So that's not helpful to stay in your house. And this takes time. It says, this will not happen overnight. It takes time, okay, friends? So do the work. Nikki, I'm a month in. Yes, and I've been here 9 years. Talk to me. Let's go. This takes time, friends. So page 70, throw yourself harder into helping other people. It quiets the imperious urge. What's the imperious urge? Is your obsession about yourself to stay isolated. It will quiet it. So get out and help somebody. That's what this book's all about.
I love that hammer that you swing, Nikki.
Not everybody does, Justin.
I know that's probably the case. I know when I break out my hammer, sometimes it drives people away, but man.
Well, and I'm also loud too. Yeah. And I'm also loud and I get excited, and quiet people don't appreciate it. But anyway, that's fine. That's how God made me. Let's not get into that. Next question.
Awesome. Next question. Let's see. What's the first thing you do when you become aware that you are mentally relapsing?
Okay. Great question. In our book, it says we pause when we're agitated or doubtful. So when I'm mentally relapsing, number one, my mind's on me. That's a mental relapse. I want, right? That's a mental relapse. So it was the question, what do I do when that starts to happen?
Yeah. What's the first thing you do when that starts to happen?
Okay. First thing, I pause. It says pause when agitated. And what I tell my sponsees, my fellows, is that anything other than perfect peace and ease alone is agitated or doubtful. Remember, that's the promise. We're at perfect peace and ease alone. So if we're not at perfect peace and ease alone, what does that look like? That looks like nothing, you needing nothing. That looks like everything is as it should be. That looks like that you're actually in the obsession about gratitude. That may look like tears coming down your face because you can't believe you are so happy that nothing has changed and you need nothing. So if you're not in that state of mind, then you need to pause. That's what I do. I pause. And then the next instruction says, turn. I physically turn to someone I can help. And friend, sometimes that's me. I need to make my bed. I need to eat a right meal. I need to get out of my bathrobe because I've been sponsoring all day, put on a little lipstick and take a walk. This is a very simple program, very simple. So again, I'll repeat that. If you're anything, the mental relapse, if you're anything other than perfect peace and ease alone, you pause when agitated, and any thought that comes in that I need or I want anything is the mental relapse. Because remember, friends, know this paragraph on page 417. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems. And then further down it says, and I'm going to just repeat it twice, nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. That's drilled into me in my head. That's in our book. And I must believe that because I take bad thoughts and I get into fear. What's going to happen to my 16-year-old son who's not acting how he should? Guess what, Nikki? Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Everything's as it should be. Fear gone. I trust God. This is radical. This is not easy, people.
Thank you, Nikki. And to our audience, we have time for a couple more questions. So if you've got a question, type it in the Q&A link at the bottom there, and we'll get to those before we close out here in about 5 or so minutes. Next question that came in: how has your relationship with your sponsors changed over the course of your recovery? I think that's a great question.
That is a beautiful question. And number one, some of you who know me, if you don't know me, Cameron, was the person who took me through the big book. He's not really my sponsor anymore. I've got a sponsor, Bill W. Now, long story short, that's my sponsor for this program type thing. What's this program? Well, I don't know, because I've got an Al-Anon sponsor, George H. So it changes. I have sponsors for different things, and it's changed over the years because they've become my friends. They've become my spiritual advisors. And Cameron and I commenced shoulder to shoulder, just like my sponsees. What's my relationship with my sponsees? Some I talk to again. Some I never talk to. Most of them aren't my sponsees. We commence shoulder to shoulder. That's what the book says. I didn't see the word sponsor, and I didn't see the word sponsee in the book. It says we commence shoulder to shoulder, this common journey. So you teach me, I teach you. Actually, the book says you're helping me more than I'm helping you as a sponsee. So it's changed over the years. I mean, I've known Cameron, many years, and it's just changed. We commence shoulder to shoulder. Same with my sponsor, Bill W. It just changes over the years. And that's what's going to happen with you and your sponsees. And listen, this is a fellowship. This isn't I need one sponsor and I need one sponsee and that's it forever. I didn't see that in the book. Otherwise, people, remember, learn your history of this program. We'd be dead. See, Bill W. sponsored Dr. Bob, who sponsored like 5,000 people. Let's wake each other up here. Get to the history. Arm yourself with the facts. This is big stuff.
That's funny. I also have one of my mentors in recovery is a Bill W. And he's got 48 years sobriety. And I'm so grateful to have him as one of my mentors and people that I get to walk shoulder to shoulder with. All right. This might be our final question here. I think I have one more after this one. We'll see. How has your relationship with God transformed over the course of your recovery?
How has my relationship with God transformed over the course of my recovery? Okay. Number one, I hated God. Number one, you're not going to say God to me. Number two, the Mormons that I let into my house, that was a problem years ago. I wasn't accepted in that church. Number two, the Christians wouldn't take me. Number three, Jews wouldn't have me. I hate God. I hate God. My dad's Rasta community didn't like me. I'm too not Rasta. I hate God. What's it look like? 9 years later, I live for God. I love God. I don't have a life without God. I live to serve you. I love my life. I love God, however you describe it. My God is loving and all powerful because that's how the book describes it. So how has my relationship changed? I am nothing without this power. I am nothing. I am nothing without God. I am nothing without the principles of this program. It sounds radical, but I'm free. I'm free. So how did it change? It moved from hate to love, to agape love, to love of, listen, you may not see me. I don't know what kind of setup Justin has here. I don't know if anyone can see me, but I'm a Black woman. You're not going to tell me I'm going to be a servant or a slave of anything. I'm a servant and a slave to God and to you people, God's children, and I'm happy. And guess what? If I told my daughter that if I can't get on a plane to see you ever again, I'm cool with that. If I can't get on a plane to see my lover again, that's fine. I just want to serve you people. I live for this. My life is amazing. So how has it changed? I've been reborn. I love God more than anything, more than my children, more than anything. This is radical because without this power, see, no one comes in here looking for God. I didn't. I came in here, how do I solve this drinking problem that the person I have to control and love to make me better? How do I do that? And here I am, 9 years later, telling you that none of this matters. None of all of that matters. The only thing that matters is carrying this message, telling people that they too can get better, that they can have a loving, all-powerful God of their own understanding, that miracles can happen. They're not just for people thousands of years ago, and that you too can have the life you always dreamed of when you believe in this power that I choose to call God. Great question to go out with.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we'll finish that up with that. That is beautiful. Beautiful testimony, beautiful words. All right. Thanks again, Nikki. That was a great RICO 12 weekly speaker meeting for all addicts and those who want to learn more about addiction and the recovery therefrom. If you have any other questions or we didn't get to any of your questions, please go to rico12.com/forum and join in our community to ask those questions and answer others' questions that will come up. I invite the audience to come back next week. If you've not yet gone to rico12.com and submitted your email address, please get on that invitation list. You can go do that really quickly so you can join us live each Friday at noon Central Time. We're also looking to fill guest speakers in April and May right now. So if you have a message to share, reach out to me through the website and we'll get that lined up. Now, Nikki has asked that we close out this meeting and launch into the rest of our day with the prayer of Saint Francis. And she's asked me to be voice in that. So, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, and that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, and it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. All right, guys, keep coming back. It works when I work it, so work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight, still searching for glimmers of light, feet still on the ground. I can still be found, standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book